maybe you have seen some people crying day and night looking for jobs so that they can do what? They can start working. But have you ever asked yourself, what is this same work? What is work according to physics? So that is a subtopic we are going to do. And I'm sure at the end of this subtopic, you are going to understand what work is. And I'm sure if you meet any question which is talking about work, you will be handling that particular question easy. So please make sure you watch this video up to its end. And on this channel, we do not only learn physics, we learn chemistry, biology, and also mathematics. So make sure you subscribe. Just click on the subscription button right now, and then also click on the notification button so that whenever I upload a new video, you get to know. So what is work? That is the topic, that is the subtopic I want us to do. What is this same work? What is work according to physics? Okay, so when talk of work according to physics, the definition for work, I'm going to give you the definition, but what is very important, I'm going to explain so that you can understand. But because what is important is to understand, not just to do what, to read. So when talk of work is simply the product of force and distance. That's all. This is the definition of work. Work is a product of what? Force and distance. But let me break it down, because I know that we all know, almost everyone knows this definition, but it's just a matter of understanding. So I want you to understand it very, very well. So when we talk of work being the product, something which is the product is something which is coming out of something. Maybe, let's say for example, you have an industry, then you are processing something. What you are going to have at the end, that is the product. A good example, let's say for example, you want to make fertilizer. Then you are going to get some leaves. You want to make organic fertilizer. You are going to get some leaves, some grasses and whatever. Then you mix them maybe with water and whatever. So now, that fertilizer which you are going to get, that is what? That is the products. So when you get these leaves, when you get maybe these plants, and then you get leaves, and then at the end you are going to get a bottle of what? Of fertilizer. So this bottle of fertilizer, this fertilizer which is inside, that is what? That is the product. That's the product we're talking about. So when talk of work is the product itself. It is the product itself. It is formed after two things have been combined. Now, what are those two things? So force and distance are the raw materials which produces what? Which produce work. I hope you are getting it. So force itself is a product of what? Force and distance. So minus having a certain force, you cannot do what? You cannot have a work done. Minus having a distance, you cannot have a work done. I don't know if you're understanding it. So let me give you a powerful illustration so that you can understand that statement. So let's assume you judge yourself, you actually judge yourself. Let me draw this illustration, and then I'll ask a question, then you answer. Then I'm going to tell you the true answer at the end. Maybe this is a certain box, and then this is a person. Okay, let me just make him to move towards the box. So this is a person, and this person is pushing this box. Okay, then from here up to there we have 20 meters. Then this is A. Then we have this picture here, which is B. That was this certain girl. And this girl is having a bucket on top of her head. And then this girl is actually moving a distance of 300 meters. And this box is having 5 kg, but this bucket is having 20 kg. Have you seen? So these are the pictures. So now the question is, between the two, who is doing work? Between this boy, this young boy, and this young lady. Picture A and picture B. Who is doing work? That is the question. You can answer it yourself. Okay, I'm sure you have answered it. So now let us see if your answer is very correct or is very wrong. So between the two, according to the definition is telling us to say what is the product of what? Force and distance. Force and distance. So the question which must actually come in your mind before you can even answer this question is, between the two, who is actually covering a certain distance? Of course, this person is covering this distance, and also this lady is also covering this distance. But now the second question, here we have marked. The second question, between the two, who is applying a certain force? Who is applying a certain force? I was just from explaining the third laws of Newton. Third laws. If you haven't watched that video, please make sure you watch. I've actually made 3 videos explaining Newton's first law of motion, second law, and third law. So when I was explaining Newton's third law of motion, I was saying that this person, this lady, due to the fact that he has got this bucket, and this bucket is exerting a certain force on her head, this force which is being exerted on the head of this lady, due to the fact that this bucket is not moving, is stationary here. This simply means that this same force, let's say for example, this bucket is actually exerting a 20 Newton on the head of this lady. This head's lady is also exerting, due to the fact that this bucket is just stationary. This head of this lady is also exerting 20 Newtons upon on the bucket. I hope you have seen. And due to the fact that this is a reacting force, this is the acting force, this is the reacting force. This is in positive, this is in negative. And if you add positive 20 minus 20, this one plus, yes, this positive 20 plus this negative 20. We are going to find that the resultant force we are going to have is what? 0 Newton. So due to that fact, this lead is not having any force. And due to that, this lead cannot be said to say is working. I hope I'm getting it. This lead is not working. This lead, let us prove this point. Let us just write the formula for work so that we can prove it well. So the formula for work is work is equal to force times distance, because it is the product of what? Force and distance. So now work, when talk of the lead, the lead is having no force due to the fact that what is happening is that the same force this bucket is actually exerting on the head of this lady is the same force this head is exerting what? On the bucket, and as a result, the resultant force is what? Is 0. And due to that, the force of this lady is 0. Times, what is the distance? The distance is what? 300 meters. So what is her work? 300 times 0, the answer is what? The answer is 0 joules. I hope you have gotten that. So what it is that someone who is just actually seated, then that particular person is washing. Due to the fact that that person is not moving, if something is not moving, but that particular thing is applying a certain force, that thing is doing nothing according to physics. Due to the fact that that particular person, it is a person who is sitting somewhere, This person is sitting somewhere, is seated somewhere, then is doing a particular, maybe this person is pushing something, but meanwhile, he or she is seated. Then, due to the fact that this particular person is not covering any distance, when talk of work, that particular person is doing any work. That's why a person who is washing, according to physics, that particular person who is washing, meanwhile is seated down, that particular person is doing nothing, is not doing work. That is according to physics. I hope you're getting it. What is the main reason? Due to the fact that that particular person is not actually covering any distance. If it means that particular person for him or her to wash is applying a force of 50 newtons. But due to the fact that this particular person is stagnant, is not moving, is just stationary, its distance is said to be what? 0. And 50 times 0, the answer is what? The answer is 0. I hope you are getting it. So that is the concept you need to know. So the person who is doing work is this one, this young boy. This boy is doing work. The reason why? Because this particular person is covering a distance of 20 meters. And at the same time, this particular person is applying a certain force for this box to be moved. It has to be, force has to be applied on it so that it can be moved. So maybe let's assume this person is applying a force of 10 newtons. So due to that fact, you are going to have a figure here. And due to that fact, if you multiply this one times that one, what you are going to have is what? 200 joules. So this is the person who is doing work. I hope I've gotten it. So that is what you need to understand. That is what you need to understand, and that is what you need to know. So now, work is calculated using this formula. Work is equal to force times distance. So there are some cases whereby they are going to tell you to calculate work. And by the way, you can calculate distance if you have been given work. Let's say, for example, a question comes whereby you have been told to say a certain person did a work of 50 joules by moving a distance of what? Maybe 2 meters. So this is the work and this is the distance. Then they will calculate the force. We know that the formula for force is equal to mass times acceleration. That is what I was explaining in the previous videos where I was explaining the laws of motion. So this is Newton's second law of motion. If you just write this, then you have actually stated Newton's second law of motion. So in case you forget, the weights, you can just write it in this expression. That is Newton's second law of motion. So this is the formula we normally use to calculate what? Force. But in this case, you can see that the only things which have been given is work and distance. So we cannot use this formula to calculate what? To calculate work. I hope you are getting it. So what we are going to do for us to calculate force, I mean, you cannot use this formula to calculate force. So not work but force. So what we are going to do is that we are going to use this same formula to calculate what? To calculate force. So what are the force applied for this 50 joules to be done, for this work to be done? So the force which was applied, we are going to just say 50 here. The work is 50, then times 2 meters. So this is 50, which is equal to, this is 2, and then when you divide 2, what you are having is force is equal to what? This is 25 newtons. Have you seen? So what I want you to understand is that it is not always where you are supposed to use this formula, force is equal to mass times acceleration. Whenever they ask you to calculate force, you need to think outside the box. You need to actually look at the data which you have been given. Then after looking at the data, then you decide which formula will be you use. Let's say, for example, you are dealing with a certain question where you have been told to calculate the distance, and then you have been given work to say work is 20 joules, and then force is what? 3. Or let me just say force is what? 4 newtons. Calculate what? Distance. So if you have been given this, if you have been given work to be 20 joules, then you have been given force to be what? To be 4 newtons. Then they tell you to a distance. We all know that there are these 3 kinematic equations. These are very important. Distance is equal to ut plus half at squared. You can use this formula to calculate distance, quite all right. But in this case, in fact, you can also use this one. V squared is equal to u squared plus 2ax. You can also use this one, quite all right. But in this case, what they have given you is just work and force. You do not have velocity, which is final velocity. You do not have initial velocity and also acceleration. And in this case, you do not have initial velocity and you do not have what? Time. But they have told you to calculate what? Distance. So what you need to do whenever you're answering, please get this point. The way physics is that whenever you have been given a certain question, make sure you write the data, and then the data will guide you which formula you're going to use. So in this case, we are going to say 20 newtons is equal to, 20 joules is equal to 4d. And then if you divide d for distance is equal to what? This is 5 meters. Have you seen? We have answered, we have actually found distance without having acceleration, time, and initial velocity, also final velocity. Have you seen? So that is that. So when we talk of work is very, very, very important. You need to understand this particular subtopic. So work is measured in what? In joules. Work, I said that work is calculated using the formula work is equal to force times distance. And you need to be very, very careful when writing these letters, because any letter you write in physics, it has its own meaning. Let's say, for example, if you write a small letter, this is frequency. Have you seen? This is frequency. So you cannot write a small letter because it will be seemed as if you want to get frequency. What you have written is the symbol for frequency. And distance, you need to write it in small letter. So if, the units for force, for work is what? Is joules. I hope you have seen. So that is how we deal with what? We deal with work. Okay. Next time we'll look at some questions. Okay, let me just give you this question. Let us answer this question. Question 1. A man exerted a force of 50 newtons when moving a block at a distance of 3 meters. Calculate the work done. Okay, I hope you have seen the question. So this question is very, very simple in such a way that you just have to actually handle it easily. So what is very important, whenever you have been given these questions, what is very important for you to actually solve these questions easily. So you need first to correct the data. So what is the data? The data is telling us to say this man exerted a force. So force is equal to what? 50 newtons. What about distance? Distance is equal to what? 3 meters. So you'd find that when you write this formula, it will be very simple for you to do what? To answer this question. Have you seen? So work is equal to force times distance. So our work is going to be, what is our force? Our force is 50 newtons times, what is our distance? Our distance is 3. So our work is going to be, okay, our work is going to be 50 times 3, that is what? 150 joules. And this is the answer. So that is that. I hope you have gotten something from my explanation. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you keep on following me. we'll start answering some questions based on this same particular subtopic, which is work. So make sure I just wanted to give you a hint about this particular subtopic. I wanted to actually explain what work is and then give you some few concepts, and then the other day now we'll start answering exam questions, so that by the time we'll be answering, we'll be just applying these concepts which we have actually learned. Otherwise, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to put a like in the comment if you find this video to be very helpful. For now, I say goodbye.